Hi everyone. So this is the part 2 of the series where we are learning on how to write schemas in Sanity. So as discussed in the previous video, we'll be building a small project on recipes, and as we discussed that schemas in Sanity can be thought of as database tables in a SQL database. Now every table that we create in a SQL database has a different meaning, and uh, we can reference or we can relate them together when we query the data, or when we build relations. So over here, something similar we'll be doing. Like we are building a project on recipe. So in a recipe we have multiple things, but over here I have listed down just 4 additional apart from recipe. Like we will be using every recipe has an ingredient. Now every ingredient has a unit, like how much of this ingredient has to go in your recipe. So so this is the list of schemas that we will write basically. So and the cuisine is important, the meal type, that is whether it is lunch, breakfast, dinner, or some snack. And in the end we will write a schema on recipe. Now in this we will be referencing this is the recipe schema. Over from here we will be referencing other schemas, like you can see the meal type. So this will be a reference to the meal type. Similarly for the ingredients, and similarly for the cuisine. So all this we will be referencing in the for the other schemas. So we'll start first with setting up the Sanity project, and then we will start writing the schemas. We'll start with the unit, as it has these are the number of fields. Actually, these are the fields. Like the cuisine is the schema, then we'll have just one field as name. I don't think we will need more. And similarly for unit we'll have 2 fields, and these are the different number of fields that I have planned to build. So we'll first set up the Sanity project, and then we'll start with writing the schema from the unit schema. So we'll go to the terminal, and in whichever directory you want to set up the project, you can just go and Sanity init. Make sure you have Sanity CLI installed in your PC. So yeah, so we will create a new project. Yes, name of the project, we'll just name it maybe my recipes, or we'll just name it recipes for now. And yeah, the dataset will keep it as production. We don't need multiple datasets, and it's a public dataset. Okay, we'll go with this path, and we'll make a clean project with no predefined schemas, as we will be writing the schemas. So over here we can see that the project is created. I have opened the project in the editor. Over here you can see the scheme. There are no schemas as we selected the clean project. We'll just start the Sanity Studio, and over there we can see all the schemas that are created, that we'll be creating. We'll just see all those. So over here we don't have any schema yet. So as we discussed in earlier, that we will be starting with the unit schema. We'll first write the unit schema, and then we'll go with meal and cuisine, then ingredients, and then the recipe. So what I normally do is I create 2 folders or 2 directories inside the schema directory. One with the name documents, and other with the name as objects. I have seen this pattern in Sanity documentation as well. So every schema with a schema type of document, only those documents or only those schemas we can see over here on the left side in Sanity Studio, and any other document type will not be visible. So in the Sanity Studio, the other document type that we normally build is the object. Objects are the schema types. Those are basically that we embed inside document. If you are embedding an object inside a document, it's better you put it in a separate file and import it as a type. We'll see, if you're not aware of that, we'll see it how to do it. It's not that difficult. It's just like we are just putting an object in a separate file, and it's not a document. So we'll start first with one schema. So how it has to be done is that whenever we write a schema, it has to be imported in schema.js file, and it has to be put inside this array. So any schema that we put inside this array will only be visible in the Sanity Studio. Like writing schema is not all the work, we have to add it here as well. So we'll start with the unit schema. So it has to be unit.js, one will create one file, and this is how we actually write a schema. So whatever schema we write, it has to be exported, and then only we can import it in the, that is the reason we're exporting, because we have to import it in the schema.js file. Now every schema that we write, we have to give a name. Now this name is not what will be displayed, this is what we will be using across different schemas if we are referencing or when we query. So this is the name that will be displayed. This is not the title, so we can name it unit. The title will be unit with capital U. Then the type, we have to give the type, like it is like the type of document or the type of schema. Is it a document, is it an object, or is it something else? So because we are writing a document, so it has to be document. Now after this we have to give fields. Now the thing is, whenever we write a schema, we need to have a name, we need to have a type, and we need fields as well. So like these are the required keys in this object that we have to provide. I think without these three, we will for sure get some kind of an error, exception, it will not work. Now like we discussed, this is like we discussed that this is writing a schema is pretty much close to writing creating database tables, or maybe writing models where we define a field, multiple fields, their data type, their constraints, a lot of things we do in SQL database. So something similar we do here as well. So in a document we need fields, and the fields we already discussed. We will be in the unit schema, will have a name and a description. So we'll create a field. Now field is an array, fields is an array of objects. So and every field needs to have a name. So the name of this field, let's say that it is the name of the unit, so we'll keep it as name. And again, this is not for displaying, this is for we will be referencing, or we will be seeing this on the response when we will source the data. The name that will be displayed is title, so we'll keep it with we'll write it with capital N. And then what type of data is this? There are multiple types, like we can have boolean, we can have string, we can have an array. Over here this is a name, so it will be a string. Now this is the bare minimum that we have to provide for every field. What additional, we'll keep it as it is. We'll create another field which is description. So we'll just copy paste it, and the new field is description, and this one will be with capital D. Again, it's a string, but for description maybe we can this is the description for the name of the unit. So we'll first see what we see in the Sanity Studio. If I just, okay, so you can see it is not visible yet. The reason for that is we have to put it inside schema.js. So we'll just first import it quickly. It's in document unit, and we just have to put it here. That's it. Now if we go to the Sanity Studio, here you can see we have a unit. Now if we want to create this is just a structure. Okay, so now if we want to add the data, we'll click on this button. You can see we have a name and a description. So let's say the name of our unit is kg, kilogram. Now the description I have added description field so that we can write the full form of the unit. So with the description, maybe it's not very clear. So what we can do is we can add a help text. Normally we have maybe sometimes at the bottom or at the top for the user who is entering the data. It is helpful for them. So what we can do is we can go back to unit, and over here we can give a description field, and in this we can write some help text, right? Like write the full form of the unit, something like you can also give an example, kilogram. Okay, so now if we go back to Sanity Studio, so here you can see there is a small description which helps the person who is entering the data here, and just click on publish. Similarly, we can create more, maybe m, but m we don't need, sorry, milligram. Okay, if we just publish, let's quickly add two other schemas, that is cuisine and meal type. So we'll just go to documents, we'll create a new file, cuisine. Now again, as we discussed, it has to be our default export, and this will have the field as name, which will be cuisine. Then we will keep a title as cuisine. Then the type, we are going to keep it as document. We'll see what other types we can have here, but for now we'll just keep this as cuisine. And then we'll have fields, and the field has to be an object with the name, and the title will be name. This is for displaying in the Sanity Studio. And the type, as it is a string, so we'll keep this as string. And similarly, we'll create another schema, which is meal type. Okay, now this meal type is again in the meal type again, we are just going to keep one field, which is name. So we can just quickly copy this and paste it here. I'll just change this to meal type and meal type. Okay, so we have three schemas ready. We'll just import the other two over here, and the third one was meal type, and we have to include them in this schema types array. So yeah, we can see we got the unit, then we have the cuisine. So maybe we can add any Middle Eastern, and we can add Chinese. And for the meal type, we can add lunch. We can add dinner. Okay, so for now I have added these, but now there is one problem. The thing is, if I over here, if I add maybe some numbers, and if I click on publish, so this is not a proper meal type, because we don't want numbers to be in the meal type. We want only strings. Similarly, in units, we can do the same thing. Like we can just put numbers or anything, and we can just publish, and there's no help the user is going to get. So before writing any other schema, we'll see how we can add validations, so that Sanity Studio gives the user some hint that he or she is doing something wrong. We can give error messages, or we can even give warnings. We can have some of our custom validations we can use. Sanity provided rules or validations. So we'll see how to add validations in the schemas in our next video.